All right, Shalom. This is the brother Nahal from the GMS Orlando camp. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasher Allah. And a sincere salutation to all you Akim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Aquas who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. Yahweh is the name of the one they ignorantly call God. Yahawashi is the name of the one they ignorantly call Jesus. Bahashem is in the name. Rakat is spirit. Kodash is holy. Akyam is brothers. Akwath is sisters. Shalom means peace. And Yasher Allah is Israel in the ancient Paleo-Hebrew. All right, now I want to go into a lesson, and that lesson is entitled, Yahawashi in the Old Testament. And this is inspired by an interaction we had with an Old Testament Israelite this week at Thursday camp. All right, I want to go into this through the Spirit because oftentimes one of the arguments that the Old Testament Israelites attempt to use is that the scriptures of the Messiah is talking about King David himself. All right, and it's clear in the Old Testament that that's not what it's talking about, but I want to go into this through the Spirit, precept upon precept. So I want to start at the beginning, right? And we're going to get the prophecy, and I'll start with Genesis 49:1. It says, "And Jacob called unto his sons and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days." Now I'm going to jump down to Judah in verse 8. It says, "Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, he couched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be, binding his foal unto the vine, and his ass's colt unto the choice vine. He washed his garments in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes." All right, I'm going to read that one more time. It says, "Binding his foal unto the vine, and his ass's colt unto the choice vine. He washed his garments in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes." And that should remind you of Isaiah the 63rd chapter. All right, continuing at verse 12, it says, "His eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk." All right, and teeth white with milk, in a nutshell, simply put, is abundance, having abundance. All right, so Shiloh in this scripture, all right, let's get that Hebrew word for Shiloh before we start getting some of the prophecies, some of the other prophecies. All right, and Shiloh is Shayalah, and it says, "He whose it is, that which belongs to him, tranquility," meaning uncertain. All right, Strong's definition says tranquil, Shiloh, an epithet of the Messiah. All right, Brown's Driver Briggs lexicon says, "He whose it is, or that which belongs to him." All right, so again, we're dealing with tranquility, and as it says in Strong's definition, it's an epithet of the Messiah. All right, and when you go into that word epithet, it simply means an adjective or descriptive phrase expressing a quality, characteristic of the person or thing mentioned. All right, so this is talking about Yahawashi, if you can receive it. All right, I'm going to go through the scriptures to show this, and show that even King David understood that there was somebody higher than himself concerning the relationship between Yahweh and himself. All right, so let's go back here, and we'll get it. Let's go straight to it. So we're going to get the prophecy that was given to King David, all right, by the prophet. All right, so let's go here in 2 Samuel, the 7th chapter. All right, and we're going to get down to the point. All right, and we'll start at verse 3. It says, "And Nathan said to the king, Go, do all that is in thine heart, for the Lord is with thee. And it came to pass that night that the word of the Lord came unto Nathan, saying, Go and tell my servant David, Thus saith the Lord, shalt thou build me an house for me to dwell in? whereas I have not dwelt in any house since the time that I brought up the children of Israel out of Egypt, even to this day, but have walked in a tent and in a tabernacle, in all the places wherein I have walked with all the children of Israel, spake I a word with any of the tribes of Israel, whom I commanded to feed my people Israel, saying, why build ye not me an house of cedar? Verse 8 reads, now therefore, so shalt thou say unto my servant David, thus saith the Lord of hosts, I took thee from the sheepcote, from following the sheep, to be ruler over my people, over Israel. And I was with thee whithersoever thou wentest, and have cut off all thine enemies out of thy sight, and have made thee a great name, like unto the name of the great men that are in the earth. Moreover, I will appoint a place for my people Israel, and will plant them, that they may dwell in a place of their own, and move no more. Neither shall the children of wickedness afflict them any more as before time. And as since the time that I commanded judges to be over my people Israel, and have caused thee to rest from all thine enemies, also the Lord telleth thee that he will make thee an house. Shalakia. That he will make thee an house. And when thy days be fulfilled, I want to make sure I'm still on. All right, so I'm going to continue at verse 12. It says, and when thy days be fulfilled, and thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, I will set up thy seed after thee, which shall proceed out of thy bowels, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build an house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. Now, the reason I read through all of that is because, again, when you deal with the context, King David wanted to build a house to the Lord. And this is when the Lord gives him the prophecy that his son is going to build a house. All right. Now, keep this in mind because, again, it also says in verse 13 that his kingdom, all right, he will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. So there's a clear distinction between the Father and the Son. All right. Because, again, the Old Testament Israelites will tell you that the Messiah is King David himself. All right. But this is showing a distinction, right? Because King David couldn't build a house. All right, now continuing, verse 14 says, I will be his father, and he shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men, and with the stripes of the children of men. But my mercy shall not depart away from him, as I took it from Saul, whom I put away before thee. And thine house and thy kingdom shall be established forever before thee. Thy throne shall be established forever. All right. So through the Son, King David's kingdom is going to be established forever. All right. And King David is going to be in the kingdom of heaven, contrary to popular belief. But it's the Messiah first. All right. And then King David. All right. That is the order of the kingdom. All right. And King David knew this. Let's go here. This is Psalms 110 and 1. And when you ask Old Testament Israelites these questions, they can't break it down. They can't give you an answer of who this is talking about. The only thing that they can default to is King David, because that's the closest thing they know, because they don't have faith in the records of Yahawashi. And they're unlike the Old Testament Israelites in the ancient world. See, when you deal with the Pharisees and the scribes, the wicked scribes and Pharisees, they didn't deny that a Messiah didn't exist. They didn't say that there was no Messiah. They didn't say that the Messiah was King David. They knew that there was a difference. All right, as a matter of fact, real quick, before I continue, I want to get this in the New Testament. I want to keep it all in the Old Testament, but I got to grab this real quick through the Spirit. So this is Matthew chapter 22 and 41. And it reads, while the Pharisees were gathered together, Yahawashi asked them, saying, what think ye of Hamashiach? Whose son is he? They say unto him, the son of David. So if they all carried the same mindset that these New Age Old Testament Israelites carried, they would have said he is King David, not the son. Which shows you that the ancient Israelites, that were going up against the Hamashiachim, they were saying that Yahawashi wasn't the Messiah, but they weren't denying the existence of a coming Messiah. All right, continuing. Verse 42 again, Matthew 22 and 42, saying, What think ye of Hamashiach? Whose son is he? They say unto him, The son of David. Now here's the point. He saith unto them, How then doth David in spirit call him Lord, saying, The Lord said unto my Lord, Sit thou on my right hand, till I make thine enemies thy footstool. If David then call him Lord, how is he his son? And no man was able to answer him a word, neither durst any man from that day forth ask him any more questions. All right. So there was an understanding, right? And then, Yahawashi posed the question, which goes back to Psalms 110. All right. Psalms 110 and 1 reads, A psalm of David. The Lord said unto my Lord, Sit thou at my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. All right. And when you really understand this from the spirit, Yahawashi is the only begotten. He's the firstborn of creation. The only thing that the Lord Yahweh himself created. And through him, everything else was created under the instruction of Yahweh. All right. So Yahawashi is the firstborn of creation. He's inherited all things that was passed down to him from his father. King David understood that. That's why he said, The Lord said unto my Lord, Sit thou at my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. Now, King David is being used through the spirit and power of Yahweh Yahawashi, all right, because through his loins, the Messiah would come onto the earth. And he did that during the time of the New Testament, and he's coming back to collect what is rightfully his. All right, this is why King David is able to say, sit. He's able to say, the Lord said unto my Lord, because he understood that order, that hierarchy. Even the Old Testament Israelites that were going against Yahawashi during that time, they understood this. They understood that King David was not speaking of himself, that he knew that there was a Messiah, the son of David. During the time of Yahawashi, they knew they were always waiting for this spirit to come back on the earth. It wasn't a foreign concept. It's only a foreign concept to these rebellious New Age Israelites, these New Age Old Testament Israelites. All right, so Psalms 110 and 1 again reads, A psalm of David, the Lord said unto my Lord, Sit thou at my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. And when you ask them, they can't answer this. They can't break this down. Why would King David say, the Lord said unto my Lord? They can't break it down. And we saw that on Thursday. Verse 2 reads, The Lord shall send the rod of thy strength out of Zion. Rule thou in the midst of thine enemies. Thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power. And the beauties of holiness from the womb of the morning, thou hast the dew of thy youth. The Lord hath sworn and will not repent. Thou art a priest forever after the order of Malach Tazadok, which is a whole nother situation in itself through the spirit, because through Yahawashi, the entire nation of Israel now enter into the priesthood. Whereas there was the Levitical priesthood under Yahawashi, the Lord has made the entire nation of Israel, the men of the nation of Israel, priest. All right, it's going to begin with the elect, which shows you this was always the plan, because when you go to Exodus 19 and 6, it says, And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, not just the Levites, which shows you that this was always the plan. It was always meant to move to this part of the order of Malach Tazadok. This was the process that the Lord used to bring that about. But it's very clear that the Messiah is different from King David, all right? And they understood this, all right? Continuing, I want to go here. I want to use another example in Psalms, all right? So this is Psalms chapter 45, and I'll start at 1. It says, To the chief musician upon Shoshanim, for the sons of Korah, my shield, a song of loves. My heart is inditing a good matter. I speak of the things which I have made touching the king. My tongue is the pen of a ready writer. Thou art fairer than the children of men. Grace is poured into thy lips. Therefore God hath blessed thee forever. Gird thy sword upon thy thigh, O most mighty, with thy glory and thy majesty. And in thy majesty ride prosperously because of the truth and meekness and righteousness. And thy right hand shall teach thee terrible things. Thine arrows are sharp in the heart of the king's enemies, whereby the people fall under thee. Thy throne, O God, is forever and ever. The scepter of thy kingdom is a right scepter. Thou lovest righteousness and hatest wickedness. Therefore, God, thy God, hath anointed thee with the oil of gladness above thy fellows. That's a clear separation. All right. It says, therefore, God, thy God, which takes me back. Salakia, I'll read it again because I didn't share it. But this is Psalms 45:6. It says, thy throne, O God, is forever and ever. The scepter of thy kingdom is a right scepter. Thou lovest righteousness and hatest wickedness. Therefore, God, thy God, hath anointed thee with the oil of gladness above thy fellows, which is a clear distinction, all right? Which again goes back to Psalms 110:1, with King David saying this in the spirit. All right. The Lord said unto my Lord, sit thou at my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. All right. Because when you really look at the scriptures, all throughout the scriptures, Yahawashi is really spoken of. All right. That's why the scriptures talk about the volume of the book. All right. The Lord was always spoken of throughout the scriptures. And our forefathers knew this. All right. They rebelled against the idea of Yahawashi being the Messiah. But again, they already knew this. This was common knowledge amongst us as a people. We knew who we were waiting on. The controversy, if you will, was who it was, which was Yahawashi. Which again, it was prophesied. The stone which the builders rejected. It was prophesied to happen that way. All right, this is Psalms 40:7. It reads, then said I, lo, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me. I delight to do thy will, O my God. Yea, thy laws within my heart. All right. So it shows you that all throughout the scriptures, if you're able to look with a spiritual eye, you'll see how it shines throughout the scriptures, man. All right. And when you ask Old Testament Israelites to break these precepts down, who is this talking about? They can't do it. There's some points where you can say it looks like King David, but then there's other points you can't do that. And when you understand it through the scriptures, none of these is talking about King David as the Messiah. All right. This is Micah chapter 5:2. I'm starting at 1. Now gather thyself in troops, O daughter of troops. He hath laid siege against us. They shall smite the judge of Israel with a rod upon the cheek. But thou, Bethlehem, Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me, that is to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been from of old, from everlasting. Who is this talking about? When you ask these Old Testament Israelites who this is talking about, they can't give you an answer. We know through the spirit and power of Yahawashi that it's talking about Yahawashi. All right. As a matter of fact, let's go here. Beautiful. So this is Matthew chapter 2, and I'll start at 1. Now, when Yahawashi was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, which was a chariot, sidebar, and are come to worship him. When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Hamashiach should be born. And they said unto him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet, and thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, art not the least among the princes of Judah. For out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel. We were always waiting on him. We were always waiting on him. And he's spoken of all throughout the Old Testament. And this is why we're able to go precept upon precept. We're able to go here and there and see that through the volume of the book Yahawashi is written of. All right. Now let me go here. This again is Micah 5:2. And it reads, But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me, that is to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been from of old, from everlasting. All right. Because Yahawashi is the firstborn of creation. All right. For the sake of this lesson, I'm not going to get too many scriptures in the New Testament, because again, it says Yahawashi in the Old Testament. But when you're looking at these scriptures with a spiritual eye, it's easy to see that this is talking about someone separate from King David. All right. Even King David knew that, and we saw that in Psalms, the 110th chapter. All right. Now let's go here. This is Jeremiah chapter 23 and verse 5. All right. And it reads, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his days Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely, and this is his name whereby he shall be called, the Lord our righteousness. And all throughout the scriptures, you see these titles, as it says in the commentary, the epithet of Yahawashi, all right, whether it's him being called Shiloh, Emmanuel, the Lord of our righteousness, all right, all of these are describing Yahawashi, all right, and it's plain to see for those who have eyes to see, all right, and this is beautiful when you look at it, because it shows that the Lord is not the author of confusion. For the Old Testament Israelites, it's questions they just can't answer. They can't answer these questions. They can't answer. When we go back to 2 Samuel, the 7th chapter, and we go down to verse 14, it says, I will be his father, and he shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men, and with the stripes of the children of men. When did that happen to King Solomon? When did that happen to King Solomon? All right, it didn't. Matter of fact, let me go here. Lord willing. So this is 1 Kings 11 and 41. It says, And the rest of the acts of Solomon and all that he did and his wisdom, are they not written in the book of the acts of Solomon? And the time that Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel was 40 years. And Solomon slept with his fathers and was buried in the city of David his father. And Rehoboam his son reigned in his stead. All right, but there's no account at all of King Solomon being beat with the stripes of men. There's no account. All right, and these are precepts that when you go into it, the Old Testament Israelites can't break these things down. All right, now we do know who it's talking about. All right, so let me go here. This is Isaiah chapter 53 and 1. It says, Who hath believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of a dry ground. He hath no form, no comeliness, and when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows, and acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he hath borne our griefs, and carried our sorrows. Yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of Yahawashi, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgression. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. When you ask these Old Testament Israelites, who is this talking about? They have no answer for you. All right? And that's why, this isn't given to many. All right? It's not given to everybody, because ultimately it's only for the elect. All right, this is beautiful when you look at it precept upon precept. All right, the Lord was, let's go here. Let's do this. Let's go here to Zechariah, the 12th chapter. This is Zechariah chapter 12 and 9. And it says, and it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplications. And they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only son. And he shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. In that day there shall be a great mourning in Jerusalem, as the mourning of Hadadrimmon in the valley of Megiddon. And the land shall mourn, every family apart, the family of the house of David apart, their wives apart, and the family of the house of Nathan apart, and their wives apart, the family of the house of Levi apart, and their wives apart, the family of Shemai apart, and their wives apart, all the families that remain, every family apart, and their wives apart. When you ask the OT Israelite who is this talking about, they can't tell you. They shall look upon me whom they have pierced. And it goes back again to Isaiah the 53rd chapter. All right. And I'll jump down to 4. It says, surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of Yahawashi, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. That's plain. All right, you can't get around these. All right, and the problem with these Old Testament Israelites is that they don't have an answer. The only answer that they give you is that it's not talking about Yahawashi. They can't tell you who it's talking about. They just say it's not Yahawashi, which really ain't an answer. All right, matter of fact, let's go here. This is another one they can't break down. This is Psalms chapter 22. And I'll start at verse 14. It says, I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted in the midst of my bowels. My strength is dried up like potsherd, and my tongue cleaveth to my jaws. And thou hast brought me into the dust of death, for dogs have compassed me. The assembly of the wicked have enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. I may tell all my bones. They look and stare upon me. They part my garments among them and cast lots upon my vesture. But be not thou far from me, O Lord, O my strength. Haste thee to help me. Who did this happen to? What is this talking about? From an Old Testament Israelite perspective, what is this talking about? We know through the Spirit. All right, let's go to it. It's Matthew chapter 27. And I'll start at 33. Point is in 35. It says, and when they were come unto a place called Golgotha, that is to say, a place of a skull, they gave him vinegar to drink mingled with gall. And when he had tasted thereof, he would not drink. And they crucified him and parted his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots. All right, because they can tell you who it ain't, but they can't tell you who it is. All right, and this is why unto the pure all things are pure. We see that Yahawashi was spoken of all throughout the scriptures. Again, Psalms 40:7 reads, then said I, lo, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me. I also want to bring this out too. This is Numbers chapter 23. And I want to jump down to so like it might be in 24. Yep. So it's Numbers chapter 24 and 17. I started 16. I started 15. And he took up his parable and said, Balaam the son of Beor has said, and the man whose eyes are open hath said, he hath said, which heard the words of Yahawashi, and knew the knowledge of the Most High, which saw the vision of the Almighty, falling into a trance, but having his eyes open. I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Sheth. And Edom shall be a possession. Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies, and Israel shall do valiantly. Out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion, and shall destroy him that remaineth of the city. All right. And we just saw through 2 Samuel, through Psalms, that it was prophesied to King David, that a star would, that his son would build his house and he would establish his kingdom forever. So when you go through all of these scriptures, precept upon precept, it's very clear. But then when you ask an Old Testament Israelite about these scriptures, they can't give you an answer for who it's talking about. They can't tell you who is this talking about in Jeremiah, the 23rd chapter. All right, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch. When you go to Micah, the 5th chapter, they can't tell you who this is, whose goings forth have been from old, from everlasting. Who is that talking about? And this is beautiful through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shah, because we haven't had to deal with an Old Testament Israelite in a long time. But when you really ask them questions, they can't answer them. The only thing that they can do is say that it's not the Lord, it's not Yahawashi, it's not the Lord. All right, so I want to just go through those scriptures through the spirit. We really cover most of these scriptures on the highways and hedges, but through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shah, I just want to go into these precept upon precept. So with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Lakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasha Allah, and a sincere salutation to all Yuakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwal, who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. Shalom.